Steve here. It's the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes from James Russell. Regarding the question about free-to-air TV coming to an end, I once came up with a conspiracy theory according to which people behind free-to-air TV colluded with the people behind pay TV and the studios that produce home video, DVD, Blu-ray, etc., whereby the free-to-air producers would agree to make their programming so awful, for the most part, that people in search of adequate entertainment would be forced to shell out for it, whether by paying for cable TV or buying DVDs, and the free-to-air people would get a cut of the profits from those sales. This is only a half joke, as I'm not fully convinced this is not what actually happened. Your thoughts? It's a little bit like the broadcast TV version of planned obsolescence, I guess. It's planned shittiness. So they make the shows bad on purpose so people go to cable and pay TV and on demand, and then they all get their cut. Oh, it's diabolical. It's a great way to guarantee that over-the-air TV remains profitable. The thing is that in the big picture, over-the-air TV is still extremely profitable. There's still a lot of money in over-the-air broadcast TV. It's just that it can be difficult for individual TV stations in particular markets to be competitive or to show a profit. But in the big picture, over-the-air broadcast TV is still really, really profitable. There's still a lot of money there. But yeah, your idea would guarantee that it would remain profitable even as that profit, that plenty continues to shrink. You know, you reminded me of something else too. This is something I've always wondered, and maybe if anybody watching knows the answer to this, please share. I would love to know. Why aren't more TV stations broadcasting their over-the-air signal on the internet, like radio stations do? I can't think of a local radio station that doesn't have a website or an app that allows you to listen to their radio station, like on your computer or on your phone or something, you know, and you hear the exact same thing you would hear if you turned on the radio. It's just another way of listening to their over-the-air signal. And TV stations don't do that, at least not as a rule. You know, there are a few that do, but for the most part, you know, if you want to watch your TV station, you either have to be a cable subscriber or you have to have an antenna on your TV. You can't just, you know, watch it in your web browser from the station website. And that just doesn't make sense to me, because you're watching it no matter what. Like, you're still going to watch the commercials. The ads are still going to find an audience. You would think that it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And I'm sure it's some contractual thing. Like they're simply, you know, they're not allowed to do it. But I wonder why. I wonder why that never became a norm. You know, why over-the-air TV stations never started broadcasting their over-the-air signal on the internet for people to watch, just like radio stations did. I'd be curious if there's an actual answer to that. Anyway, nothing to do with your question, James, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Ahoy Yerno, this happened a year or so ago, but in light of the recent Weinstein revelations, it's really weighing on my conscience. I go swimming every week. After swimming, I was changing, and I heard the girl in the cabin next to me say no, plainly and matter-of-factly. This was a no without subtext. A minute later, she says no again. Same tone. Again, a minute, and she says, when I say no, that's what I mean, with some annoyance in her voice. Another minute, and I hear them having sex. This was a public space, and I assume she didn't want to cause a scene. I didn't do anything. I'm really troubled because I think I really should have. I should have said something like, dude, no means no, or I can be a witness at the police, something along those lines to make it very clear I know what he was doing. But, like that girl, I didn't want to cause a scene. What should I have done? What would you have done? Edit. She was raped, and I let it happen. I realized I didn't use that word, but that's what happened, if you were to ask my opinion. Wow. I think you know what you should have done, or at least what you feel you should have done, is you should have stepped in. You should have, you know, raised your voice. You should have let the guy know that you were there and you heard what was going on, and, you know, he wasn't at liberty to do what he was going to do. I mean, that's what you should have done. That's what I think. That's what you think. What would I have done in your position? I don't know. I may have done the exact same thing you did. I mean, it's not easy to stand up in that situation. You know, it's a very nerve-wracking thing. And, you know, and you think of excuses not to do it when you're in that situation, and at first you think, oh, this is bad, I should do something. And then, at least if your mind works the way mine does, you start thinking of all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. Well, maybe they're just playing. Maybe this is like a little game they do. Maybe she's just teasing him. Maybe it's just, it's all, if I were to go in and try to interrupt them, I would just embarrass myself, You think of reasons not to do things. But I think as a rule, it's better to err on the side of preventing a rape than it is to err on the side of allowing a rape to transpire. So I would hope that if I were in that situation, I would do something. I would speak up. I would say something, I would take some action to stop the assault from happening. But can I say with confidence I would do that? No. Can I say for sure that I am that brave and I would, stand up and do that? No, I can't. I've never been in that situation. And I may well do the same thing that you did. And that's why I think, selfishly, I admit, but I think there's not a lot of shame in what you did. I mean, clearly, I think, and I think you think you should have done something differently, and it's to your credit that this bothers you. And, maybe if you're ever in that situation again, you will do something. Hopefully that won't happen, but if you find yourself in that situation, maybe you'll do something differently. But that, that's a really difficult thing. I can't condemn you for not doing the right thing. I can't condemn you for not stepping in because I don't know if I would have. I don't know if a lot of people would have. It's a very difficult situation. But I think you've taken the right lesson from it. So there's that. Scott Bresinger, in the wake of the MythCon fiasco and the everyday Trumpster fire that is our government, do you think people have finally had enough of the alt-right trolls that have been jizzing up the internet? From my perspective, I've noticed a decrease in the amount of awfulness I encounter, but I'm not in the trenches as you are. What I'm saying is if there's real reason to hope. I would say yes. I would say there is reason to hope. Things are moving in the right direction. It's just that from where I sit, and I am somewhat in the trenches, I'm not nearly as deep in the trenches as a lot of other people are, but I do experience my share, perhaps more than my share, of online harassment and abuse and trolling, and have people make shitty videos about me and send their followers to my comment sections and my Twitter, and that happens to me fairly regularly. So I guess you could say I'm fairly well acquainted with it. Things are moving in the right direction. Platforms like YouTube and Twitter and Facebook are very, very slowly coming to realize that they have been negligent, that they have to take a much firmer hand in regulating this stuff, in moderating this stuff, in keeping shitty people off of their platforms, or at least limiting the freedom with which shitty people have to be shitty, on their platforms. And that's a very, very agonizingly gradual process that I wish would speed up. But nonetheless, that process is happening, and you see things like just recently, just this week, Reddit starting to remove extremist forums from its website, removing Nazi forums and alt-right forums. Twitter saying it will no longer accept advertising from Russia Today and Sputnik. Things are moving in the right direction, and hopefully things will continue to move that way. And hopefully platforms like YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and other major mainstream social media platforms will continue to move to marginalize and eventually phase out the people who use their platforms to spread hatred and harassment and to profit from being shitty people and to recruit for hate groups and all of these awful things that social media has been exploited and co-opted and used for so many years. I think we're moving in that direction, I'll say. I think more people than ever are aware of it and are upset by it and are offended by it and think that we should do something about it, think that things should not be this way. They don't have to be this way and they shouldn't be this way, so let's do something about it. I think that level of awareness is at an all-time high and it's continuing to grow. And hopefully in a few years we will be in a much better spot relative to that than we are now. But it'll still probably take a while. Jacob Zentichko, ever since your Why We Should Stop Calling People Assholes video, I've been thinking about the problems with other insults we use. Why is dick an insult when, as the Monty Python song goes, isn't it awfully nice to have a penis? Calling someone an asswipe makes even less sense. I mean, can you imagine living in a time before toilet paper? Why do we call people pussies to say they are weak and balls are associated with courage and strength? Numerous people have pointed out that a single shot to the balls will take any guy down, while a pussy can take a pounding. Cocksucker makes the least sense of any insult, since men and women who suck cock make the world happier and a more fun place to live. I am out of insults. So do you have any suggestions? All very excellent points. There are so many things that we call people intending them to be insulted that if you think about it, it's things that you know, in their literal sense, we wouldn't want to do without. So why is it an insult to compare someone to an asswipe? Of course we like to have those. We need, it's not pleasant, but we need them, right? I think comparing someone directly to shit is about as good as you can get, because all other insults, not all, obviously, there are things I'm leaving out, but for brevity's sake, most other insults, if you deconstruct them like that, you can say, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would you call somebody that to insult them? That's actually a good thing. But, you know, you can call someone shit, you can call someone a shitty person, you can call somebody a shithead or a dipshit. Shit is something that, for the vast majority of the population, is considered an unpleasant thing. Yes, something that is unavoidable. Yes, something that is a natural byproduct. Yes, something that we can take a non-judgmental view of if we choose. You know, we can look at shit in a morally neutral way. But for the most part, shit is something that we would like to avoid, that we would like to not have around us. So when someone is acting badly, or when we want to insult someone, you know, maybe we can come up with some creative way of calling them shit or comparing them to shit. That to me, that is the last bastion of the philosophically consistent insult. Shit. What do you think? Yannick Mueller. Hey Steve, I'm in a somewhat troubling situation. Once a week I'm looking after my cousin's daughters, 2.5 years and 10 months old. They are great and I love to spend time with them. The problem is that my cousin's husband, the children's father, is a former neo-Nazi. He allegedly has no relations to the scene anymore, but he always goes on and on about how the refugees are ruining Germany and so on. To give you another example of his behavior, one time one of his daughters was playing with a black doll at my grandma's place, and he didn't want them to play with it because it's black. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't think it's my place to get involved with my cousin's parenting. She seems to do a very good job with the two girls and is open-minded most of the time, although she calls said doll the N-word doll without second thought. Do you think it's too early for kids that small to get corrupted by right-wing ideology? Should I correct the older girl, who speaks rather fluently now and said the N-word a couple of times now? Well, on that last question, I would say yes. I would say absolutely. You have to correct the older girl who is saying that word. If it were me, even if I were not the parent or the usual caregiver, I would want to correct that. If a young child said a word like that in my presence, I would want to at least let them know how I felt about it. And again, I'm not a parent. I've never been a parent. I'm not the ideal person to ask for parenting advice. But I think you can gain a lot, and you can get a lot of mileage with kids simply by telling them how you feel about things. You know, explain to her why you don't like that word. Explain to her why you don't like those thoughts. You know, why you don't like those ideas. If you hear her spouting other like far right talking points or arguments, or it seems like she's starting to be influenced by some of the things that her dad has been saying, you know, let her know how you feel about it. And so you're not, you know, preaching at her. You're not directing her. You're not being didactic about it. You're just saying, well, you know, when you say those sorts of things, here's what I think about that, or here's how that makes me feel, or here's how that makes other people feel, and here's why I care about that. You know, you can sort of come at it from a more personal first-person perspective, and maybe the child will be able to relate to that. You know, but yeah, it's a tough situation, because you're right. They're not your children. You don't want to horn in and you know, disrespect the rights of the parent, but at the same time, if the kid is being raised by a neo-Nazi, you know, it might be worth having a word. I don't know if your sister would be the most receptive person to talk to, because no disrespect to your sister, but she did marry the guy, and if she is fully aware of his proclivities, and she chose to share her life with this person anyway. She might not be the most receptive person to your concerns, but it might be worth sharing those concerns with her anyway, if you haven't tried that yet. But yeah, I mean, that's the best I can do. If the child starts saying things that really are troubling to you, just let her know, as an adult in her life, as a role model in her life, as someone who cares about her and hopefully she looks up to and likes, let her know how you feel about that sort of thing. Meteoman12. Hey Steve, my question to you is, how would you teach children about the dangers of false information on YouTube? I recently had a discussion with my teenage son, 13, about the concerns of certain videos on the internet. We ended up talking about feminism because he'd seen some videos about crazy feminists. So I had to go into a long discussion about that sort of video being a trick in order to keep the status quo and feminism at bay. I explained that these people show the worst of a group in order to diminish a cause from being lifted up. We proceeded to talk about BLM as opposed to ALM. I continued to say that these groups are not looking to overtake anything, but are using these names as a platform to raise themselves up to get to an even level with the highest of current status, cis, white, Christian male, of which we, my son and I, are a part. Do you have any suggestions on how to help people keep a watchful eye out for these types of largely false ideas? As a side question, do you know how many response videos you have generated? I'm not sure of the number, but damn, it is a lot. Yeah, to take the last question first, I have no idea. I don't watch most of them. In fact, I watch almost none of them. But yeah, the impression, and I don't like look for them. I don't search for my name on Google or anything, but judging from what other people have told me, it's a lot. It's a huge number, probably in the hundreds by now, because they've been made fairly regularly for some years. That I would just guess that would be a ballpark figure. And as far as how do you teach your kids about finding misinformation about stuff like that on YouTube, it sounds like what you're doing is pretty good. You know, I think you talk to your kid. You know, talk to him about not just about what he's watching on YouTube and, you know, what his friends are talking about or whatever, but, you know, talk about these issues. Talk about social issues. Talk about why, you know, Black Lives Matter protesters are protesting, and talk about what they want and why. Talk about why feminists are protesting and what feminism wants to accomplish, what changes they want to bring about, and why that's important. You know, to have these discussions with your kids. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think these are formative years, and if they know how you feel and they know that you have a certain opinion and you believe these things are important to be educated about and to be aware of, and you know that there is a right side and a wrong side to these social movements, and you want to feel like you're on the right side and you want your child to be on the right side as well. I mean, these are important matters to discuss. And it sounds like you're doing that. It sounds like you're concerned and you're involved, and you heard your kid saying some things that you didn't really like or you were bothered by, and you had to talk about it. And just as I was saying in the previous question, you let your child know what you thought, you know, and why you had a problem with some of the things that were being said in the videos he was watching. I think you're doing what I would have suggested that you do. And you probably know way more about it than I do, because you are a parent and I'm not. So, I mean, to my untrained eyes and ears, it sounds like you're on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe do more so of what you're already doing. Just like now, I'm going to actually go on for the rest of this video and do what I've been doing, only less so. It's a little thing that I like to call the lightning round. Because it's the same shtick, it's just, you know, abbreviated. Anyway, American Anarchist. Hey Steve, did you hear about the Catalan independence referendum? And if so, how do you feel about it? Do you support the independence they voted overwhelmingly in favor of? Ooh, nice loaded question. And also, Camel Spider Attack and Jay Dotify also asked questions this week about Catalonian independence. And actually, Jay Dotify's comment captures a lot of my thoughts about it, which is, of course, I support Catalan independence. I think if they vote to be independent, if they want to, you know, declare independence and become their own state, their own country, then I think they should be allowed to do that. But I mean, it's going to be super difficult and super complicated. I mean, if Catalonia becomes its own country, then That takes a big chunk out of the economy of Spain, and it also takes a big chunk out of the economy of Catalan because it loses whatever it gets now just as a part of Spain. That's going to be gone. It will be its own nation, and I believe the European Union has said it would recognize an independent Catalan state as long as it was an amicable split with Spain, but that new nation would not automatically be a member of the European Union, so it would lose any benefits that it gets now as a member of European Union as part of Spain. So I'm definitely not against it. I definitely support the people of Catalan if they want to move for independence. It's been something that people within Catalan have been pushing for centuries. But I do not envy the road they have ahead of them, if indeed independence is what they actually get, because they're going to be facing an uphill battle in a lot of ways. But yes, of course, I don't oppose their efforts. You know, the idea that they want to be independent. If most of them want to be, then they should be allowed to give it a shot. J.E. Hoyes, do you think that one day you and your wife will just say, "Why don't we go vegan?" for the same health and ethical reasons? Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. That's why we became vegetarian. It's probably moving in that direction. And honestly, a lot of our vegetarian food is vegan already. Once we can figure out how to phase, eggs and dairy out of our diet, we're almost there now. We just haven't said, hey, we're going to be vegan. So it's probably going to happen at some point. Radical Bacon, you've won tickets to an act that you've never heard of. Inexplicably, none of their work is on the internet, but there are wonderful reviews of them. Do you go? No. No, I probably wouldn't go. Would you want to go? I could give you the tickets. Yeah, I don't go to see acts that I love that are playing around here, so I probably wouldn't go to see someone that I'd never heard of. Lucas Hackett, hey Steve, Boston or Chicago? Who is the best rock band named after a town? Ooh, good question. I would say Boston is probably a better band than Chicago, but the part of me that loves cheesy, awful things would say Chicago. But I guess if I'm going for just pure quality, I'd have to say Boston. Kaboom Splat Yuck 2. Do you like Halloween? I do. Yeah, I actually do like Halloween. I try to do Halloween themed videos the week of Halloween, every year, and I do love Halloween. I don't really like participating anymore now that I'm a grown-up, and I don't really go to parties or do trick-or-treat or anything. But the idea of Halloween and, the decorations and watching scary movies and all that stuff, I'm a huge fan of all of that. So yes, I do love Halloween. Corey Donaldson, with the recent passings of Gord Downie of the Tragically Hip and Tom Petty of the Heartbreakers, which singers that you enjoy listening to would you keep from dying if you had the power to? Oh, man. If I had the power, Nico Case would live forever. Nico Case would never die. I would keep her alive for sure. Who else? Oh, wow. I don't know. Nico Case is the only one I can think of at the moment. What an amazing voice she has. Yeah, her. And probably a bunch of other people too, but that's all I can think of at the moment. Dr. Themo, lightning round question. How would you rank the following book formats as far as what you prefer? Okay, and the list is paperback, hardback, ebook, or Kindle, and audio. So I will go in order of starting with most preferred to least preferred. I would say ebook, paperback, hardcover, and then audio. I like audiobooks, I just don't listen to them that much, so that's why it would be at the bottom. But yeah, ebook is definitely at the top. It has totally taken over my reading life since I got this thing. Sachin, why do you delete comments? Because I want my comment sections to be hospitable to people and to be relevant to the video that they are under. So I delete comments that are irrelevant. I delete comments that are hostile or that are insulting or trolling or that are completely unrelated to the video, that are just there to troll or to start shit. I want the comment section to be useful to people. I don't want the comment section isn't there to allow trolls to insult me and fuck with me and grandstand. The comment section is for people who want to make a relevant, constructive comment about the video. And that's what they're there for. And any comments that don't fit into that parameter, I delete. And I sleep like a fucking baby. Matt Machado, hey Steve, since you're a Star Trek Discovery fan, I want to know what you think of the theory that Lieutenant Ash Tyler, who was introduced in episode 5, is really a Klingon. Oh man, that sounds like just a paranoid Trekkie conspiracy theory, but now I'm gonna kind of be disappointed if that doesn't turn out to be the case. Like, I think that's kind of a brilliant twist, especially given how different the Klingons look compared to how they looked in the old days. You know, I think, wow, I'm gonna be so disappointed if that doesn't happen now. I had not heard that. I had not heard that theory before your question. And now I kind of hope that that's what they do. That would be so great. But we'll see. I don't know. Joe McClory, who is your favorite villain in fiction and why? God. The Judeo-Christian God, Yahweh, is my favorite villain because, like all great villains, he thinks he's the hero. If you want a more serious answer, maybe Anton Chigurh or Big Nurse, also known as Nurse Ratched from Cuckoo's Nest. The book and the movie, both versions are great. Yeah, probably that. That's it for the questions. It's time now for the shout out. And the shout out this week goes to something that you are going to be so sick of hearing me talk about by next summer, because it's something that I am somewhat involved with, and I'm really going to be promoting it and pushing it. And I really hope that those of you who are interested and able, can get behind it and support it as well. It is the thing I was talking with Lee Moore about in a live stream on this channel a few days ago. The shout out this week goes to TAC, the Atheist Conference. Tickets are on sale, my friends. So you can buy your tickets to join us next year, July 6, 7, and 8, 2018 in New York City at the beautiful 4-star Roosevelt Hotel. This is the first conference of its kind in New York City, a full-scale 3-day atheist secular conference right there in the heart of New York City. I'm going to be there. Christy Winters is going to be there. Some of the more familiar faces from the conference circuit, like Hemet Mehta and Aaron Ra, are scheduled to be there. I'm going to be part of a YouTube panel that will include myself and Christy and the One Janitor and Foxy Jezebel and ContraPoints. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be an awesome, awesome weekend. And you can go to theatheistconference.com right now to buy your tickets and to make your hotel reservations, because the discount that you get on booking at the Roosevelt through the TAC website is unbelievable. And so you get to come and have an awesome weekend at an atheist conference and spend a weekend in a beautiful hotel in New York. So what's not to love? It's going to be an amazing event. I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to hopefully see a bunch of you there. So if you want to join us for TAC, the Atheist Conference, July 6, 7, and 8, 2018, go to the website right now, get your tickets, make your reservations, plan to be there for TAC next year. It's going to be fantastic. I also want to remind you, as always, to please check out the Lemme Listen family of podcasts. These are podcasts that are created by my very good friend Jason Harding, the puppet master of Opinionville. There is a whole slate of awesome Lemme Listen podcasts that you can add, if you have not done so already, to your podcast rotation. And the one I always like to draw particular attention to is Late Seating, which is the movie review podcast that Jason and I host together, where we take a fresh look at films that have a certain reputation, either good or bad, and we decide whether they deserve their reputation, and we make fun of them and tell you what happens. And it's just a good time. It's a good 90-minute podcast to listen to, where just hear two funny dipshits talk about movies. It's great. I'm a dipshit. I should not presume and call Jason a dipshit. Perhaps he does not like that label. I've never actually asked him. I should ask him next time I talk to him. Are you okay with me calling you a dipshit in the video? Because if not, I'll knock it off. But anyway, yeah, you can listen to our new episode, which drops today, which is the second of our Halloween-themed shows, where we review the classic 1959 Ed Wood movie, Plan 9 from Outer Space, the granddaddy of all so bad they're good movies. So you can listen to our review of Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. You can also listen to all of our past episodes and all of the other episodes of all of the awesome Lemme Listen podcasts by going to lemmelistenpodcast.com. Well, that's it. That's it for the questions. That's it for the shout out. That's it for the podcast plug. It's all over, except for me to say this. Please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. You can ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of your questions as I possibly can in the next video. So in order to make sure that next video happens, you have to ask. So please do ask me a question in the comment section of this video. That's how you do it. That's it, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Hey folks, just one more thing before I go. Thank you once again for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe, and also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron of this channel. Thank you ever so much. See you next time.